I was recently looking on YouTube to try to figure out how to do a countdown timer similar to Peter McKinnon's. And there was a lot of great tutorials out there. And then I thought, can I make it better? Let's find out. First up, open up Davinci Resolve, hop right into the Fusion tab. That is not the Fusion tab, that is the Color tab. First thing that we're going to do is open up a text plus node, plus enter, and we've added it to the nodes. If the nodes view is not showing, then go ahead and click on the view to open it up. In the inspector, you want to right click on the styled text, go down to time code, and then hop over to modifiers. If this is not showing all of the different modifiers, then just double click on that. And then here I want to set the defaults for my display. So I don't want the frames to show, and I do not want drop frame to show, because drop frame actually gives you a lot of information that you really don't need or want. So now let's go to create macro. All right, so for the create macro, I don't think I need anything with images. Let's see, style text, sure. Font, definitely. Style, definitely. Color, absolutely. Size, maybe not. Tracking, definitely. Layout, nope. Transform, actually, you know what? Let's go back to layout and grab the size. Shading, not much, but I do want opacity. And then in time code, here I want the hours, minutes, and seconds. I do not want the frames. And let's go with the start, offset, and frames per second. The start, offset, and the frames per second is where your clock should start, and frames per second kind of keeps pace of where your clock goes within your timeline. Selecting this for a macro or a preset just allows you to be able to use that same preset on various timelines. So if you have a 60 frames per second timeline, 24 frames per second timeline, it doesn't matter, the same preset will work on all of them. So now that I have everything set, let's just kind of eyeball everything, double check. Modifiers, that looks fantastic. Close. Now this says save changes to macro tool 1. No. Cancel. Let's change the name and timer. Now let's close. Yes. And we will save this under templates, edit, and titles. This will allow us to be able to use the preset as a lower third title or just a title in general. All right, next up, we have to restart Davinci Resolve. All right, now that we're back in Davinci Resolve, just hop back over to your edit page. I already have a very lovely donut on my timeline here. And all I need to do is make sure my effects library is open. Go to search, pull up timer, and drag it right on over here. And there it is. There's our timer. So let's change the length of my donut and make it 5 minutes long. My timer, then I can now make also 5 minutes long. Oops, that's 5 seconds, honey. Also 5 minutes long. And if I press play now, we will see that the timer is actually counting up. I don't want that. I want a count down timer. There's nothing wrong with a count up timer, but it's counting down right now. Now that I have the title on the timeline, we can go to the Fusion tab or go to the Fusion under Inspector. And we don't need to mess with style text. I should have actually just left that out. Let's change the font to something more appealing. I personally am a big fan of Futura. And the bold is fine. Tracking, yeah, sure. Let's make it a little bit more spread out, just to visually appealing. Let's go with a medium. Medium's too small. I don't like it. Let's go back to bold. Size, definitely want it a little bit smaller. Transform. And I could have made the transform a part of the keyframing or a part of the Fusion clip as well. I just prefer to leave it this way for some reason this time. Next up, let's not include the hours. I only care about the minutes and the seconds. So far, we're doing pretty good. Now, for this particular timeline, I am in 30 frames per second, so I will leave the 30 frames per second, but I actually want it to count down. So I'll put a negative. If I press play here, it's doing a weirdness, yeah? So we have it counting, it's counting down, but in the negative, and I don't necessarily want to do it that way. So let's pause. And if we want the offset to go, if we want the countdown timer to work appropriately, then what you need to do is make sure that the offset and the frames per second are either both negative to count down or both positive to count up. So I want to count down timer, so I will make it negative. Now what's great about this is I don't really have to do the math, I just have to know the numbers. So first up, let's set the frames per second to negative 30. We can leave that alone. Now for the start offset, we have a 5-minute clip. So you're going to do 5 minutes times the number of minutes, 5 minutes times the number of seconds in a minute times the number of frames in a second. So 5 times 60 times 30. Negative. Going down. Negative. 5 times 60 times 30, negative 9,000. And so now our countdown clock is starting at 5. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Keep doing it. That's okay. And then press play. And we see it gradually counting down. Win. So now what I do like about this method is that if I need to, as an example, accelerate the clock, right? Make it seem like time is progressing a lot faster than it actually is, I can actually just keyframe this title within the edit page without me having to go back and forth to the Fusion page. I think it's an improvement. But I would love to know what you think. Is it a win or is it not so much? Let me know in the comments down below. Have a great one.